There's a lunch counter in Rochester that's been serving the exact same plate since 1918. Same recipe, same name, not one ingredient swapped in over 100 years. Now compare that to your last breakfast. $9 for avocado toast and a side salad the size of a coaster. Back in 1953, that plate cost 15 cents, and one woman ordered something off a diner board that doesn't exist on a single menu in America today. Gone completely, recipe and all, and nobody wrote down why. 12 dishes like that are coming up, most under a quarter back then, and the last one hid an entire kitchen behind a wall of glass that fooled millions of people for 70 straight years. 1. The Patty Melt. Tiny's Waffle Shop, Sacramento, sometime in the mid-1950s. A cook named Kenny Hutchinson griddled a burger patty between two slices of rye with grilled onion and melted Swiss, pressed shut like a grilled cheese that forgot it was supposed to be a burger. He named it after a waitress working the counter that night. Her name was Patty. That's the whole story. And it's rare that any of these dishes come with a name, a building, and a date attached to them this cleanly. Most food on this list doesn't get that kind of clean paper trail. The next one has 3 competing versions of events and a country that's still arguing about which one's true. 2. City chicken. Real chicken cost money families didn't have during the Depression, so cooks across the Midwest cubed cheap pork and veal instead, skewered it on a wooden stick, breaded and fried the whole thing until it looked like a drumstick from 3 feet away. City chicken, because only people living in cities could afford the real bird that often, and everyone else made do with the imitation sitting on their plate instead. The Depression ended. Chicken got cheap again. Diners kept serving the fake version straight through the 1950s anyway, because a whole generation of kids had grown up loving the imitation more than the bird it stood in for. Cheap fixes have a way of outliving the reason they got invented, and the next entry got killed off for the opposite reason. 3. Welsh Rarebit. Sharp cheddar melted down with beer, mustard, and a pinch of cayenne, poured hot over toast, and served as a genuine dinner entree, right next to the meatloaf and the pot roast on 1950s diner boards, priced and plated like any other main course on the menu. It didn't survive what came after it. Once cholesterol turned into a word people said out loud at their own dinner table, a plate of melted cheese on bread stopped looking like a meal and started looking like something your doctor would frown at. Health scares killed this one off. A different kind of scare is what kept the next dish alive for decades. 4. The Denver Sandwich. Ham, onion, and green pepper scrambled into eggs, packed between bread, served on railroad dining cars running through Denver in the early 1900s. Old railroad cooks used to claim the onion and pepper weren't really about flavor. They masked the smell if an egg had turned slightly on a long, hot stretch of track with no refrigeration on board, and nobody wanted to find that out halfway through a meal. Refrigerated cars eventually solved that problem completely, and the sandwich just kept riding diner menus into the 1950s out of pure habit. Then it slipped off the board and came back under a different name. You know it today as the Western omelet, and almost nobody ordering one realizes it used to ride the rails. Speaking of names that outlived their story, the next sandwich has 2 entire cities fighting over who actually gets credit for it. 5. The Reuben. Omaha says a grocer named Reuben Kulikovsky threw it together during a late-night poker game at the Blackstone Hotel. Corned beef and sauerkraut piled on rye because that's what was sitting in the kitchen. New York says a deli owner named Arnold Reuben built it decades earlier for a regular customer, with a completely different version of events. Corned beef, sauerkraut, Swiss, Russian dressing, grilled until it holds together under its own weight. Diners ran it as a rotating special through the 1950s, then it settled back into delis specifically, almost like the country agreed to let the 2 cities keep the argument while diners moved on. What replaced it on some counters needed zero debate and barely any dishes. 6. Frito pie. Texas, 1949. A snack company published a promotional recipe booklet, and someone realized you could tear open a bag of Fritos, spoon chili and shredded cheese and onions straight into it, and eat the whole thing with a fork right out of the bag. The bag itself was the plate, which meant the cleanup was already finished before the last bite was even eaten. Woolworth's lunch counters across Texas picked it up almost overnight for that exact reason. A snack company accidentally invented a meal, and that meal accidentally invented a way to skip the sink entirely. Not every dish on this list was built for speed. Some were built to feed 200 people off one pot, and that's a completely different kind of engineering. 7. Chicken a la king. 3 different hotel chefs from the late 1800s all took credit for this one, and every version of the story mentions a guest or chef named King who may or may not have actually existed. Creamy chicken, mushrooms, and pimento, ladled over toast points or rice, turned into the most requested banquet dish in America by the 1950s. Weddings, retirement dinners, church basement luncheons, anywhere a kitchen needed to stretch one giant pot across a packed room full of hungry guests. It got served at so many events that it became a punchline before it ever became forgotten. Order it today, and most people under 40 will just stare at you. The next item on this list carries a name that's completely wrong, and somehow that's the reason it survived as long as it did. 8. The egg cream. Brooklyn soda fountains sold this by the thousands. Chocolate syrup, whole milk, and seltzer mixed fast enough to build a thick head of foam on top that looked, from across the counter, close enough to beaten egg white to earn the name. One theory says it actually comes from a Yiddish word that sounds like egg, but translates closer to genuine or the real thing. That argument has never really been settled, and at this point probably never will be. A nickel a glass at soda counters bolted onto the side of diners through the 1950s. Once drugstore soda fountains started closing down in the following decades, the egg cream closed down right along with them. Some dishes disappeared because a whole industry collapsed around them. This next one disappeared because a delivery truck stopped showing up on the same day of the week. 9. Liver and onions, Thursday. Butchers dropped off fresh liver early in the week. Friday was already claimed by Catholic customers avoiding meat entirely. That left Thursday open, and diners in completely different states landed on the same day without ever coordinating, purely because the delivery truck and the calendar lined up identically in town after town across the country. Regulars stopped even checking the board on Thursdays. They just walked in and ordered it. Once cheap organ meat fell out of style, the whole unspoken ritual faded away without a single person deciding to end it. The next dish only exists because a hotel had a very specific problem between midnight and 2 in the morning. 10. The hot brown. Louisville, 1926. Guests at the Brown Hotel danced for hours at supper club events downstairs and came up starving afterward, tired of the same plain ham sandwich the kitchen kept sending out. Chef Fred Schmidt built something heavier instead. Open-faced turkey on toast, drowned in a rich cheese sauce, topped with bacon, broiled until the top blistered and darkened at the edges. It spread through Kentucky diners and hotel kitchens through the 1950s and stayed almost entirely inside the state. Other cities exported their specialties across the country. This one stayed put, so most of America still has no idea one hotel dish once ran an entire region's late-night cravings. The next one didn't come from a kitchen at all. It came from a plate. 11. The blue plate special. Divided ceramic plates with 3 or 4 compartments molded directly into the china showed up in American diners back in the 1920s and 30s, cheap to make and easy to wash, and they kept your meat from sliding into your gravy. Cooks started serving whatever was cheapest to make in bulk that day on these plates, and the plate's name just became the meal's name too. By the 1950s, it was chalked on boards nationwide, usually a quarter, sometimes 35 cents. The plates themselves stopped being made decades ago, yet the phrase kept going, outliving the actual china by 70 years. People still order the special today without knowing there was ever a real blue plate underneath it. Last one on the list, and it's the strangest kitchen setup any of these diners ever ran. 12. The Automat's macaroni and cheese. Horn and Hardart sold a wall that pretended to run without a single human behind it, and the trick worked on millions of people for decades. Drop a nickel in the slot, turn the small chrome handle, and a little glass door popped open with a hot plate of macaroni and cheese already waiting inside. The whole counter looked unmanned, cashier and waiter and kitchen all completely hidden from view behind rows of small glass windows. What customers never saw was a narrow hallway running behind that entire wall, staffed by workers restocking every window by hand the second it emptied, fed by dumbwaiters running straight down to a real kitchen underneath the whole operation. It was one of the first fully self-service food systems in the world, running like clockwork straight through the peak of the 1950s. Fast food chains eventually beat it on speed and price. The last Automat closed in 1991, and the trick behind that wall closed with it, taking an entire way of eating out with it. 12 dishes, and almost all of them survived on taste alone, right up until the reason they existed quietly vanished out from under them. Some got replaced by a faster kitchen, some got replaced by a healthier headline, a few just outlived the people who remembered why they were on the menu at all. Tell me which one you'd actually order tonight. And if you're into food history like this, subscribe, there's a lot more of it coming. See you next time.